Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randyrhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Hey! It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
And now we have learned where Devin Nunes was the day before that bombshell announcement when he announced last week that President Trump, perhaps some of their communications with transition officials were picked up incidentally. Now, Mr. Nunes actually spoke to our colleague, Jake Tapper, and confirmed to Jake that, in fact, Nunes was on White House grounds the day before the announcement. Now, the suggestion that perhaps that he may have been, at least in some way, to muddy the waters a little bit, could protect President Trump. So that's why Mr. Nunes has come under a lot of scrutiny for this. Now, one other thing, John and Poppy, I asked Mr. Nunes repeatedly last night, did you get this information from the White House? He would not rule that out, but the news today, he was on White House grounds the day before the announcement, guys.
Holy crap, man. Holy crap. Oh, God. Nunes.
Have you ever heard of the chair of an independent committee doing what Nunes just did, getting some information that wasn't necessarily new, but was certainly helpful to the White House, going around the committee, going to the press, and going to the White House?
No. As you know, I was a ranking member of the Benghazi Committee. Mm-hmm. We would have never allowed that to happen. The Intelligence Committee is a very special committee. They are privy to information that most members of Congress may never see. Mm-hmm. And so you expect them to be extremely confidential. What he did was basically to go to the president, who's being investigated by the FBI and others, and by the Intelligence Committee, to give him information. Basically, what he has done is he has scuttled and put a cloud over his own investigation, and he has become the subject, basically, he should be, of an investigation.
There are no words. I mean, this investigation couldn't be handled any worse if the Russians themselves were handling it. I mean, this is amazing. This is just amazing. So we have an investigation that involves the House Intelligence Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Devin Nunes, apparently disappears the night before. He tells the press a story about incidental collection of people in the White House, which it was to cover Trump's ridiculous tweets. Okay, I mean, and it's like Donald Trump gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Just to review where we are, gets up at 6 o'clock in the morning in Mar-a-Lago, which, by the way, is costing us like 15,000 Americans have to pay taxes every year just to support Donald Trump's little weekend outings. 15,000 Americans have to pay taxes. Figure every household pays between $3,000 and $4,000 worth of taxes, and that and you multiply that by 15,000. That's how much it's costing. Anyway, I digress. So Donald Trump wakes up on 6 o'clock in the morning at Mar-a-Lago and starts tweeting out that Obama is a bad, sick man because he had him wiretapped. And the President Trump just found out. Bad, sick. Accuses him of everything from McCarthyism to Nixon and Watergate, whatever. None of it turns out to be true. None of it. But now, I mean, the man, for some reason, cares about this lie. He doesn't care about any of the other lies he's told. I mean, Mexico's not paying for the wall. The health care bill was not fabulous and fantastic. It had absolutely no natural constituency, and this is why it died last week. It was the most embarrassing thing. And then Monday last week starts off with Comey going to the House and telling them, yes, indeed, the Trump administration is under investigation for both criminal and, counterintelligence problems. So, it wasn't a good week for him. He started out last week with a 37% approval rating, before Comey even said word one. Now he's down to 36%, and today is only Monday. All right. Nunes apparently was tasked with receiving information to make what Trump said true or less disgusting. Okay? Now, Nunes is conducting his own investigation as chairman of the House Intelligence Committee into, he met with Adam Schiff, the ranking member, the Democrat, and they agreed to the scope of an inquiry, to the scope of an investigation that the House would have. Right? Now, all of a sudden, in the middle, they don't like the way the testimony went on Monday, so Nunes spends the entire next few days running around trying to find some information that would make Trump look somewhat honest. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the week, Nunes runs to the press as the head of the Intelligence Committee, and then after he talks to the press, goes into the White House and says it's done, apparently, and tells the press that he has information that people in the White House were incidentally captured in surveillance. Now, my question was, then who the hell were they talking to? A question that nobody seems to want to ask. But what Nunes said that, happened, had absolutely nothing to do with the insane accusations that Trump was making in the first place. So Nunes stuck his neck out there, basically just saying, oh, well, this has nothing to do with Russia, but there was some incidental collection, to try and make Trump look less crazy. I don't know what else to say. Less of a liar? Which one do you prefer? Because they're both bad, and one or the other is true. Either he's crazy and he makes stuff up and he lies, or he's not crazy and he makes stuff up and he lies. Either way, he made stuff up and he lied. Because the president says that he read it, or he saw it someplace, he heard it someplace, that he read the New York Times on January 20th and they used the word wiretapping. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So I don't know when somebody's going to finally step forward and say that Emperor Trump has no brains, or Emperor Trump is incapable and incompetent, but we have to wait for that. So anyway, what happened now is it seems like, Manu Raju, who is the reporter on Capitol Hill for CNN, he asked Devin Nunes last week. Remember I said this is my favorite clip? I have reasons why I gravitate to certain sound bites. And my favorite clip from last week was Manu Raju asking Devin Nunes whether or not the White House gave him this information. And is that why he went to the press first and then went to the White House to tell him, I delivered your message to the press? I mean, who the hell knows? And he won't rule out that the White House gave him this information. Now the reporters, their interest is so piqued because he will not categorically deny that he got the information about incidental collection from the White House itself. So the reporters go, we don't like unanswered questions. Let's find out. Turns out that a couple of people saw Devin Nunes. Now, Wednesday was the day he came and talked to the press and said, there was incidental collection. I just want you guys to know. And it didn't have anything to do with Russia, but, and they said, well, did you tell the Intel Committee? Did you tell your colleagues on the Intelligence Committee? Oh, no, I told the press first. And then what did you do? Oh, well, then I went to the White House to tell them. Well, you can't tell the target of an investigation if you're part of the investigatory team that you have them in, in their. You can't do that. I mean, it is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I mean, it's like the most lack of judgment call you've ever heard of in your life, And he ends up apologizing to the House Intelligence Committee. And he says, I'm sorry that I didn't tell the Democrats on the panel what I was going to do. Of course, what he did was possibly illegal if the White House gave him this information. Well, this is why the press goes crazy over this story, right? And then all of a sudden they start asking around. Where was Devin Nunes Tuesday night? Does anybody know his whereabouts? Because Wednesday was the day he stepped up to the press and said incidental collection. So they want to know, where was he the night before? Who was he talking to? Did he go to the White House? Answer, yes, he did. He did. He went to the White House grounds Tuesday night. We know this because Idiot Boy was in an Uber. And he got a phone call and he had to jump out of the Uber because it was apparently classified information on the phone. And some people said that they had seen him up on the White House grounds. And it turns out that he confirmed to CNN, Nunes did. He confirmed to CNN by phone today that he was on the White House grounds Tuesday night. He wasn't in the White House itself. He could have been, now we're opining now because nobody knows, but he could have been in the Eisenhower Executive Office building, which houses Mike Pence's offices. Okay, that's where the vice president works. But he said he went to the building because he needed a secure area to view the information that he had gotten Tuesday night. Now, those secure, sensitive compartmented information facilities, those are the things you hear referred to as SCIFs. There are plenty of SCIFs on Capitol Hill. Nunes could have gone to where he works on Capitol Hill. And, obviously, as chairman of the Intelligence Committee, he has a secure room where he can view whatever it was he wanted to look at. But instead, he goes right to the White House grounds and apparently goes to the Eisenhower Executive Office building, or people are speculating that's where he went. And now he's saying, well, I needed a secure place to look at this bombshell. I needed a secure place. Well, you didn't tell anybody that you were at the White House on Tuesday. And they did ask you. I know, I should have said. So now there's speculation, and I said this on Friday, that the White House is the leaker. Trump is like, we'll find that leaker. It's the leaks. And then, when Comey was up on Capitol Hill, we had two different hearings going on. We had the uber Republican side that wanted to know who the leaker was. And then you had the serious side that wants to know whether or not there was any cooperation or collusion between the Trump transition team, the Trump campaign, and Russia. So we had Comey having two different investigations at the same time, right? Let's answer the question for the Republican people who wanted to turn Comey's valuable time into who was the leaker. The leaker was obviously somebody in the White House because, the information that Nunes shared with the subject of the investigation, he didn't share it with the people who were investigating the subject. He shared it with the subject of it's like if Scully and Mulder, okay? It's like if Scully went to the aliens with information that he didn't share with Mulder. That would never happen. So now we find out, the night before he was up on the White House grounds. Okay, so people are starting to think, and I thought, and I told you, facts are facts, and then I opine. And my opinion was two things had happened. That Flynn flipped, and he's providing lots of information because he was also on the transition team, and he's in big damn trouble, and that the White House is the leaker. So now today, people are starting to suspect, this isn't proven, suspect that White House lawyers leaked to Nunes information that they wanted out there to make President Trump look less insane ahead of the healthcare vote. But it didn't work. It didn't work. Nobody thinks he's less insane. They only think he's more insane. And this cover-up is actually getting to the bottom of an incredible amount of collusion between investigators and targets of investigations. Now, all of a sudden today, they want Jared. They want Jared to come up to Capitol Hill is what they want. And Jared's going to go. He's going to go to the Senate. But you know what? None of this is going to be under oath, and none of this is going to be in public. And, so now we're all sitting here saying one thing and one thing only today, and that is Nunes has got to go. Nunes has got to step down. He has got to resign. The information comprised executive branch documents that have not been provided to Congress. And because of classification rules, if Devin Nunes took documents from Capitol Hill, where, he's alleging, he got information and then he jumped out of the cab and he went to the White House. If he moved information, right, from the House Intelligence Committee space to the White House grounds, then that is improper safeguarding of classification of classified documents in the first place. So then, if he didn't carry them from Congress to the White House grounds, that means he got them on the White House grounds. Do you see what I mean? So there's no way that he's got a decent excuse for this. Either he took classified material from Capitol Hill to the White House grounds, and that breaks the what they call, the chain of custody and classification. So if he took stuff that he was working on from the Capitol to the White House grounds, he violated the safeguarding of classified information. And if he got it from the White House and then went to the White House grounds, that means that the target of the investigation is providing the intelligence chairman with information that he then goes to the press with before he goes to his committee with, and he's the lead investigator into the White House. Either way, he's got to go. Devin has got to go. These excuses of his, these explanations of his are disingenuous and they are misleading at a minimum, and they're... Who gave him permission to transport classified materials between secure locations? I mean, it just... This is huge. And he's doing it on behalf of the Trump administration, who he's investigating.
For takeoff. Randi Rhodes Air Force. Air Force. RandiRhodes.com.
Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.